what we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets it.
Right, dude. Hit it.
All right. This is the Camo Convoy podcast, where we talk all things overland, off-road, and the great outdoors. Something happened in the great outdoors in our neck of the woods, Aaron. A lot of people talking about it.
Yes, a lot of people are talking about it. We had a search and rescue operation kick off.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, we had some Jeepers. They went wheeling. They were having a great time. But there was a post made in the Virginia off-road group. And that post spiraled out of control because the missing folks weren't missing. So here's what happened. These guys, they went out, they were running trails around Peters Mill, Flagpole Knob. They were hanging out on the eastern side of George Washington National Forest. So the last check-in that these guys had made back home, somewhere around 2 p.m., was at the Audubon Country Store. Now, there was an expectation from the wives that they would check in, with what their plans were. The wife of at least one of the drivers normally receives an update. Now, it was mentioned in the post that their wheeling trips and their trails are usually 1 to 3 hours in duration. So they went beyond that and no contact was made. So some alarms started going off. Several hours passed beyond that. No contact, no update. And finally, at 8 p.m., one of the wives actually contacted the sheriff and made the post to the Virginia Off-Road Group. So I'm gonna read that post, actually. Now, I'm not going to mention any names. I don't think I need to because everybody was there. So, in big, bold letters, urgent missing. 4 men, Virginia off-roading in Jeeps, missing. So that's right off the bat. I haven't heard from my husband or any of the other men since 2 p.m. today, 3/7/26, and neither have their other loved ones. So now that's 4 guys, no communication out. This individual reached out to those people, no communication. Last said they were entering a Jeep trail near Dayton, Virginia. Last known location, Audubon Country Store. 1 blue Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, snorkel and roof rack, 1 silver Jeep Gladiator. They have radios on them. No idea which trail or what direction they were heading. All I know is they frequent Peters Mill, Flagpole Knob. We never off-road at night, and my husband always contacts me to say when he is done. Normally only do 1 to 3 hour long trails, so 6 hours of no contact is absolutely a sign of trouble. Please spread the word. Contact me if you have seen them, and please, if you can safely hit the trails and keep an eye out for them, do so. I mean, there was a lot of urgency. I feel like if I'm sitting in the room and I'm hearing that, the tone is there's a problem.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
It seemed like, I don't know, it seemed like for that post to be made, the information given, there was almost, in my head when I read it, it was almost like, oh, I wonder if there's something more to this, because it sounded serious.
Yeah. I mean, she said everything that needed to be said very clearly with all the information and narrowed it down to like, everybody's comfortable with Peters Mill and Flagpole Knob. We all know it. So like,
yeah,
there's a large concentration of people there. So like, she said the right things to get the right people moving.
Right. And none of that stuff is harrowing. It's all pretty cake. So if you didn't hear from somebody, you could reasonably suspect that there's there's a problem. So when that post was made in that tone, it reached hundreds of people like that. It blew up. I was getting messages from other people.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sharing it. People were asking, am I going? I wish I could have. You know, I'm 4.5 hours away, or I would have gone. It would have been a great excuse to get out in the woods. And I think that's why it was so popular. It was nice out. You know,
everybody's looking for an excuse to go wheeling. They got it. We're gonna go find these guys.
Boy, did they get it! I mean, there were dozens of people. It was getting shared everywhere. Anyone in the overland off-road space in the region, they were zipping down to that area to go and look for these guys. The sheriff gets involved. Search and rescue gets activated. Allegedly, now I've seen no confirmation of this, but I've seen multiple Facebook comments that pointed to this. A private aircraft actually took off to help the search. So we have private, state, local, and an aircraft mobilized to find these 4 guys that didn't check in. Turned into a legitimate search operation. Now, as time goes on, we start to see some more comments, a little bit more information. We find out that at least one of these guys, if not multiple, is a Marine. So now, you know, bells are going off. Like, one could reasonably suspect that if somebody with that level of knowledge isn't heard from, that there might actually be a real problem. See, when somebody has a high level of training and knowledge and gets themselves into trouble, it's usually a doozy. The little things they handle. So one could reasonably suspect that based on the information we have, there's a problem. So here's where things get, well, it's funny now. These guys get rolled up on, but they're just hanging out.
Sitting by campfire.
Sitting by campfire, hanging out, probably wondering why the hell the mountain got so busy and everyone has their lights on. No injuries, no broken vehicles, no emergency. These guys just decided that they were going to camp for the night. Nobody sent a message back home. Once the dust settled, and we found out that these guys weren't dead, weren't hurt, weren't lost, all hell broke loose on Facebook. There were almost immediately the Union and Confederacy ready to go to blows over this event. The first side, the wife that made this post, did the right thing. They say, you know what? It's remote terrain. There's little to no cell phone service. There was a communication expectation, or at least a trend that we had that was broken. The wife had never expected, nor had she experienced, a period of 6 hours of no contact when they're off-roading. That's a change. And off-roading can become dangerous quickly, regardless of how experienced you are. And if they were actually hurt, time matters. So whether how trained you are, you can have a medical emergency at any time. And who knows where that went? You know, there were a lot of unknowns. And an early search and rescue could save lives if somebody or multiple folks are hurt. But what was the other side?
Massive overreaction. A lot of people were saying like losing signal's normal. We live in Appalachia, you know, like people camp overnight all the time. A few hours of silence, it's pretty common, you know. Like I've been out, I've done 8 hours no phone. Like you can find those places.
Hell yeah.
You know, you get wheeling, taking pictures, hanging out. It's easy to lose track of time. But like you said, they're Marines. They're probably going to be okay out in the woods. They're going to handle all the small stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So the odds of both vehicles being irreparable, you know, you got the Marine there, like everything, they're like probably overreacted with deploying search and rescue, but
yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunately not free. You know, if you or I go out and look, it doesn't cost anybody any money except us, right? But when the big dogs come out and they got the trailer rolling and maybe the, you know, state UTV with the lights and FLIR cameras, right? You know, I don't know what all actually deployed, but I know that there was an actual agency that was out and aware of it. Costs money. costs resources.
Yeah.
Some guys could be working overtime. Again, if I was there, it would have been really fun. But that was the other side of the argument where, hey, this was an overreaction. There was only 6 hours that passed. So then the rebuttal to that was, yeah, but that 6 hours led into the night. Do you think I'm going to hear from somebody at 2:00 in the morning? There were some folks being pretty nasty,
Yeah.
I feel like you just, even if you disagree, you don't go after someone's wife like that. There were some shame on you, some of you guys. That was pretty low.
There were some rough ones.
There's some rough ones. There's some pretty funny ones too. I mean, it paints a pretty good picture of, it paints a pretty good picture of 4 guys that didn't really want to go home.
Yeah.
Couple Brokeback Mountain memes, Maybe. But here's my take, Aaron, and I imagine that, we talked about this. I think you probably echo it, but I don't think anyone involved here is the villain. I don't think anyone is the bad guy. There was a miscommunication and really a failure to communicate, and that was because of no defined communication plan or a communication plan that wasn't followed. Unfortunately, it turned into something massive, but something as simple as following one of these plans really, really could prevent something like this from happening. So, let's say you're Jeep wife number 1. When would you start really worrying?
I think it's okay to worry, but I think you got to have a little faith in your guys too. I don't know that I'm starting search and rescue going into the night. I think I hold that operation off until morning, probably after breakfast. I think I'm waiting till the next morning.
I'm there with you. I think based on the information that we had, even though I think that the wives and families were well within their rights to be concerned, because you had 4 guys who, at least one of them, from my understanding, had a satellite communication device. And that was never specified what it was, but it wasn't used. So one would assume that if there was a serious problem, that would have been deployed to get word out or get help. So if somebody was not able to do that, really only 2 things can be true. It's really, really bad and you need help right now, or the phones are in the truck and the boys got a fire going.
Yeah.
So I think I also am probably waiting until morning, 7, 8 a.m. the next day, I think is reasonable. When I would get another agency, a professional agency involved, I still would have made that post. Yes. I think I don't know. For me, I don't know that I would have made the tone quite like that. The tone was extremely effective. I mean, to be fair, it mobilized a damn army in a matter of minutes.
Very impressive. Kudos to this area and the community, because they found the guy quick.
Hell yeah, absolutely. I just don't think that I would probably go that route on the tone. It would be more of like a, hey, this is what's going on. These were my expectations. I have no contact. I really appreciate it if anyone wants to get some night wheeling in, see if you can see these guys. I'll keep everyone updated, but if I don't hear anything by morning, I'm going to contact law enforcement. That's probably where I would go. The one thing that I noticed going through the comments was there was a very big age discrepancy in folks that were in, the union and folks that were in the Confederacy. There was the old school line of thought where it was like, I didn't call Barb until I got back to the payphone at the Denny's, you know? And then there's like the young guys that are like, bro, my iPhone 17's got satellite texting. What do you mean? They got to be dead. So I get it. You know, if you grew up pre-cell phone and you've been doing this longer than me, then it probably doesn't register to you at all that it's even a problem because you never called back home. People expected to hear from you by work Monday morning. And if you weren't home to go to work Monday morning, then there's a problem. So I understand that. I do. I just think like we have the technology now where I don't know that that's really the expectation. So if you were going to leave right now and you're headed out west, this is a major trip. What kind of things are you looking at for a trip plan as far as communication goes?
I'm going to have set check-in points. I'm going to have my route mapped. Hey, I'm going to be on this interstate. You know, I plan out fuel stops. Sometimes I go to about a quarter tank. You know what? That's about 200 miles for me.
Mm-hmm.
Other times I'm looking at like what places I'm actually stopping at. You know, like, is this place around a city? Like, am I going to be in the middle of nowhere? So I can kind of plan, say, hey, 6 hours from now, I should be here. If you don't hear from me in 8, something's wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then at least they got the road to go on. Once you get out in the trails, it's kind of the same thing, but then the time thing goes out the window. I think it's more important at that point to be like, I'm going to be on this trail and then I'm going to that trail. And if it changes, I will communicate and have a way to do it.
Yep, definitely. When we came upon the boulders that needed relocated, and I knew that was going to be a major time sink, that is an example of a time where I take 2 seconds and I'll just send out something, whether it's through satellite or on the Garmin, like everyone's good, but something came up, you know, just so it's like, okay, he's fine, but instead of camp being 6 p.m., it might be midnight, you know?
Right.
But through like the ease of the inReach or through the phone, because the nice thing with the inReach is you get an app that you can text through and it works just like your phone. So I always like to send my wife all the little, I know she doesn't care, but when stuff goes sideways, just so she can roll her eyes at how dumb, you know, I gotta get a kick out of it. Yeah, she knows I'm not dead, and I get a kick out of her thinking that she married that. So, but I think that it is important on that note to establish a window of concern. Like, if you don't hear from me for half of a day, like that's kind of normal, right? Like. Yeah. Somebody could have blown up, had a major mechanical, and we're dealing with it. That's 6, 7, 8 hours of dicking around that, you know, I think that's reasonable. But maybe you say between 8 and 12 hours, this is where you should feel concerned. Between 8 and 12 hours, I'm going to make every effort that I can to contact you through our agreed way. And if I don't, you should reach out to folks that you know that I'm with. And that kind of segues into a little aside, but like, and I'm speaking as you go out without your significant other, but maybe they're with you, right? It's not always your wife. This could be your dad back home or an aunt or just a buddy, right?
You probably have somebody that loves you.
Yeah, there's probably, and if you don't, send me a message. I'll come and get you, buddy.
We'll hug you.
We'll give you a hug. But at that point, if you reach that window of concern, whatever you agree on, that your person back home needs to know who is kind of in your off-roading circle that they can contact and be like, hey, I haven't heard from Nick for like 12 hours. Last I heard from him was like 6 p.m. Last night, and I got nothing. Last I heard, everyone was still on the trail. Have you heard anything? You know, and then this network of people, everyone kind of knows everyone. It's kind of like the 7 degrees of Kevin. Is it Kevin Bacon? Where you're like no more than 7 people away from Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, something like that.
It's like that for off-roading. So make sure they know who to contact. Get that word out. Now, for me, I think that after a day, this is escalation. This is where you're sending people to look. You got EMS on the horn. This is an emergency situation, or could be an emergency situation after a day. So for me, I would say about 24 hours of no contact beyond a window that I expected it is probably when I'm going to physically be looking, sending people that I know to look, and ultimately contacting emergency services. Would you agree that's probably a reasonable time frame?
Yeah, I think, especially with a group, if you haven't heard in a day, like something's probably wrong. Somebody in the group should have reached out. But solo travel, I think it's too long.
But yeah, don't be a ghost. You know, this story kind of made me think of that gentleman that took his life with his dog recently. And, you know, obviously, I don't think 4 guys are going to go out and do that together. But if you're solo and you're you don't want people's minds to go there. I know we have the same mental image of just this Jeep suicide pact. Sicko.
I was like, they're all in Jeeps, like kind of death wobbling their way down the road.
So there are a couple different communication options here. A lot of guys think, well, I have comms. I have a radio in my truck. Well, the thing is, unless you have your amateur radio license and you have a sweet ham radio set up, and your point of contact also has an amateur radio license and a ham radio set up, it doesn't really do anything for you unless like 7 miles away is your loved one. The radios in your truck aren't going to help you. So there's some things that you need to consider when you need to get into contact with the outside world. So the first one, just your cell phone. So obviously these work when you have connectivity, right? Connect to a tower. Now, what you should be doing before you even go on your trip is go on Gaia. I'm sure Onyx has it too, is go on a map layer, toggle on your carrier, Verizon, AT&T, Cricket, T-Mobile, whoever, right?
Whoever.
Just see if the area that you're going to be in has service. And if it doesn't, right then and there is the time where you start planning the places that you are going to let your point of contact know that everything's good. Hey, I'm going into the dead zone. Plan to be out of it tomorrow at noon. You know, things like that. These are things you should be thinking of. Now, actually, the Androids have the satellite messaging, or is that just an Apple thing?
Hold on. My $100 Android from 4 years ago does not have satellite capabilities.
Yeah, I don't
know. The new
know.
ones, I don't know.
I don't know if the new ones do or not. Actually, they may.
They might be an app for that. I don't know.
The iPhones do, and truthfully, I've had great luck with it. Now, it does work a lot better when you are stationary because you have to physically point the top of your phone at a little image of satellite and follow it across the sky. When you're seated, it's no problem, but when you're driving, navigating, you know,
it's a problem.
It's a little bit harder, but they actually make it pretty nice because it's either highlights itself green or it's not. You know, if you're pointed at it, it's really not that tough. I've never had an issue with it. Text come and go very easily. Now, the downside of that is you are not going to be receiving any messages unless you are actively sitting there with your phone pointed at a satellite in the satellite mode. So let's say you aren't the one with the problem, but you're in the situation that I had found myself in, where your loved one has a problem and needs you. Well, if you aren't actively pointed at the sky, you're not getting that message. So that's a pretty big drawback to your cell phone. But
I think that's an important thing for all this stuff is you got to have somebody listening on the other side, and you have to be listening for somebody to reach out to you.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this stuff isn't like a cell phone that automatically gets a message. Like you have to be like, hold on, let me check my mailbox, and connect up.
Yep. One thing, that I know Camo does, and it's 99.9% all cell phones, is we have a very active Discord channel. Matter of fact, it never stops dinging. Sometimes during the show, I forget to silence it, and my phone and my computer and my tablet are ding, 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 ding. But what we do is when we're on trips, we just blow it up with the trip as long as we have service. And now there's 160 people in there right now, something like that, 120 people. Every single one of those people, we're getting that update from everyone that's out there. So that network grows and grows. And if you have a network like that, and if you don't, join our Discord. It's just a really good idea to get as many people in the know of where you're at as possible. We're not out there doing covert ops. No one's going to come bother you at camp. It's just, if something happens or you break down, you're going to want help. Your phone's got some cons though. Your basic phone call, you're not talking on the phone. So if you need to talk about anything specific that, is lengthy, you're not making phone calls if you don't have service. If you don't have satellite texting, if you don't have service at all, you're just not getting it. So for me, my personal thoughts are that unless I don't even know if I'll go this far. If you have satellite texting, I think it's passable that your cell phone is your primary communication device. Now,
I think a phone should be considered like urban communication.
Yeah.
Like once you leave the urban area, that's not a communication device anymore.
Yeah. I mean, think about one of the areas that we frequent the most is a radio isolation zone. So the phone isn't going to do anything.
It doesn't do anything.
No.
Unless you stand in that one spot by the tree, 2 foot in that.
I know exactly where you're talking about.
You know the hole. Then you got something. But outside of that, there's nothing there.
Now the satellite feature does work in that area, but again, unless you're pointing at the sky in that mode, you're not getting anything in or out. Now, what about cell boosters? Do you have any experience with these, like the WeBoost?
Nope. The only experience I've got with them is watching Steven deploy his, and then everybody stand in the hole and text home.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same deal. I've used one, somebody else's that was like the Cradle version. Basically, if there's a little bit of service, you get usable service. But if there's no service, then you get nothing. That's basically the bottom line with it. For me, I don't consider a cell phone booster really anything in an emergency at all. I would say having one is having none. It's just like an extra nice thing for your phone, but I wouldn't rely on it. I think
that was more. I think it was more geared towards like the CDL drivers over long roads, like trying to get a little service while you're on the road, like out in the middle of the desert or something. But
there's definitely been times where there's been like for instance, that spot you're talking about. The WeBoost actually works excellent there. You can like use the internet in that spot with a WeBoost.
Nice. You just got to put the antenna in that spot.
Yeah. Which is, it's an application.
I'll take it. Yeah.
It's not magic, but it is going to help. So, I think it's one of those things where it's just like more tools in your tool belt. I think if you got, what do they cost now? Like $350. If you want to blow $350 and you're compelled to do it on that, I guess it's probably cool. I don't know.
I'm probably not buying one.
Yeah, I don't anticipate me really wanting one. I think if
you know what I think they're going to be in about 10 years is like finding an old CB in somebody's garage. It's going to be like, oh, look, there's a WeBoost. Like somebody bought it. They tried it. Didn't work. It's going to sit around
that
eventually.
Thick antenna there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't rely on one basically. So what about vehicle radios? We got our GMRS and our CB.
So everybody uses GMRS now, and it's back in the old days, like CBs were the thing. That was like the thing before GMRS, and everybody got into modding those things and these long antennas and trying to talk to Istanbul by bouncing waves off the ionosphere and like all this crazy shit. GMRS doesn't do that. Where we're at, we're lucky to get, I don't know, realistically, a mile in the woods. If we get a mile of communication.
If it's thick, I mean, basically line of sight.
I'm thinking flagpole. Like, there's been times I've been at the back of the group and I can't communicate to the front of the group, and we only got 15 trucks, and we're not that spread out.
Yeah.
Especially if you've just got a handheld inside,
right? Now, there's some things that you can do with a GMRS to make it a lot better, right? So a lot of the channels that are in the GMRS band, right, that don't use family radio service frequencies, like your walkie-talkie, you can go up to 50 watts, right? So if you're talking out at 50 watts at a, you say you're on channel 22, and you absolutely have your GMRS family license, you have a better chance with a quality radio of making contacts. But there's one more thing that you could do if there is an emergency, which I would like to get better at doing. Admittedly, I do not do this, but I want to add it to my things to do before we go out. You can go online and look up GMRS repeaters that are in the area that you plan to operate in, right? And each of those repeaters will have a privacy tone. And if they're a public repeater, what you can do is look up that tone. You go into your radio settings, so it'll say like privacy/tone typically, and you can input that tone. So if you're using the correct channel and the correct tone, when you key out, that repeater will take your frequency, and it will take your transmission and throw it further down the line, right? If you
from
get
a better
into
location, they're
from
usually
a better
like
location,
up really high with a tower.
Yeah.
So you're getting a much better line of sight to everything, too.
Definitely. That's when your 1 to 10 on a perfect day communication, it might go 30 to 50 miles.
Yep.
I don't have any experience in actually doing that. What I will say is, if you do elect to do that, you truly do. I know that I really shit talk the whole license thing, but if you're using a repeater, the proper etiquette and the law is that you do in fact self-identify and that you have a license to use that repeater. So I think it's like $70 for your family for like forever or 10 years or something like that. It's really not. I think
if you're
the idea of it.
Yeah, you're into it that deep that you're hitting repeaters, and like you have other people listening that are farther out that are listening to that repeater.
Yeah.
Like, you're into it just by the license.
Yeah, it's a good prep. It's something, I don't know, if I get a bug up my ass, I might go through and just look up all my local repeaters and just write the privacy tones down. Or if I know I mentioned this last week, but if you have a Baofeng, or I think really any other radio, but you download the Chirp program to your computer, and you can program all those in, change the names of them so you know where to find them. It is a good prep, and it is a good opportunity for your GMRS to reach out a little bit further. But if you're in Kentucky, you're not talking to your wife back in Maryland or Pennsylvania. It's just unfortunately not going to work out for you. You might be able to get out to, an emergency call to something, just as a Hail Mary. But it's not, it's not like calling somebody on the phone.
Yeah.
You don't call the police with it.
Well, that was actually where I was going to go with this, is like CBs, what was it, Channel 9? 19 was truckers, and then 9 was monitored by state officials.
Yeah.
I guess. Is there a channel like that on GMRS? I don't believe there is, right?
No, I don't think that there's an official emergency GMRS channel. A lot of that is going to be on your amateur radio bands, which is a complete separate license. And that's a good segue into it. So now there are instances where you could contact your wife from Kentucky to Pennsylvania, and that would be if you do have your amateur radio license and you have a good ham radio setup in your vehicle. Now, again, whoever's back home has to have the same setup and know how to use it. But that is 100% viable. You could talk across the world on it if you needed to. One day I'll get that license. I actually was set to test, and then my wife's water broke like 3 days before with my daughter, and I never went and took the test, and I haven't done it since. I forgot everything. I've forgotten a decent bit of material. Truthfully, it's total cake. The hardest question is just remembering the bands. It's very simple. It's not rocket science.
It's pretty straightforward.
Radio science, very simple.
Yeah.
I'll make an effort. I won't make any promises, but I'll make an effort.
That's one of those things that I got interested in, and then quickly realized I didn't need to talk to all these people, and then I was like, "Yeah." So, but there is a use for it. I don't know, man. Like I'm not putting up an antenna in my backyard.
No, I mean, I don't know. Just another hobby.
It's a hobby, man. If you're into it, great. I'm not shitting on your hobby. It's a lot. That's a deep world, man. You dive into ham radios, you can sink a ton of money. There's a ton of knowledge there. Like they are a very, very cool tool. They're just
my grandfather talks to the space station.
Yeah.
He downloads like you can run. I forget what the programs are, but like when the space station sends transmissions down, you can run that through your graphics card and then upload the pictures or download the pictures that they're sending back down through radio. It's pretty cool, man. It's cool. Way over my head.
Yeah. Same. There's so much to it that it's like overwhelming to get into it. Like what you're saying, you need an older guy that's like been doing it to bring you
an Elmer.
Yeah.
Need an Elmer. So the next up is the satellite messengers. So the only two that I'm really familiar with here are like your Garmin InReach, and then is it Zoleo? Which I have
first time I'm seeing it.
I don't know how that one works at all. I only have experience with the InReach. Basically, these are great. They just keep getting more and more expensive. I think that my InReach subscription has increased in price like 5 times now. I think I pay like $30 some bucks a month for my InReach now, which
where you're going, like you use it for work too, right?
I do. I use it very frequently, so I can't really complain. You could have zero signal whatsoever, and as long as the sky is above you, you can get texts out and receive texts. You don't need to be actively doing anything with the device. As long as it's powered on, you'll get a message. You can even set it so that it never shuts up until you read the message, which I do.
That's actually kind of nice.
Yeah, I've never had an issue with it. I've paid Garmin a lot of money in the last 5 years or so.
Yeah.
But I've used it a ton. It does have an SOS feature, so if you open up the little side button and hold the SOS button, the cavalry's coming. It's going to ping your GPS location, and everyone that needs to know is going to know. And if I'm not mistaken, I'll have to double check on this one, but I believe if you hit that SOS, it also pings your emergency contact. So-and-so, your emergency contact, they utilize the SOS feature, which the iPhones do as well, which is something we didn't talk about. I'm going to tell a quick story here, actually, because the iPhone SOS feature works exceptionally well. I have no idea how it functions if you don't have service, but I will tell you what it does when you do. So I'm at work. I'm on the middle of Forbes Avenue in Pittsburgh. I'm in my company truck, and we're doing some work cutting the street up, and I'm there doing my safety man stuff, right? All of a sudden, my phone starts going haywire, and I get an alert that says, somebody that has you listed as their emergency contact initiated SOS from this location. Like, what the is this? And it's my house.
Oh, shit.
Well, I'm calling my wife. She's not answering. I get a call from my mother-in-law. Have you heard from your wife? I said, I just got the thing too. I get a call from her grandmother. Okay. Now I'm like, what the hell? So I flip the lights on in the truck, That's the only thing that has chase lights is my work truck. I got the front and rear lights. I flip the lights on. I'm driving down sidewalk. I'm breaking every I mean, if the law existed, I broke it, right? I'm like really nervous because I also have like infant and 3 toddlers at the house at this time too. And I'm like freaking out. I call my neighbor, he's retired. I'm like, his name's Randy. I'm like, Randy, this is my garage code. Please check on my wife. He gets the neighbor up the road. They're ready to door kick. They got guns, right? The police show up to the house. Okay. My wife was in the shower and my daughter was screwing with her phone.
Oh, shit.
Dude. Yep.
It's good to know, though. System works.
Oh, dude, it works really well. Yeah, it works really well. Did not get any bills in the mail for utilizing public services, so that was good.
That's cool.
But the SOS service, 100% works very well on the iPhone. Yeah, just keep your phones away from your kids. The big red button is very attractive to them.
Yeah.
So back to the satellite communicators, though. Really, the only negatives with them is the monthly subscription cost. It just keeps rising. But again, if it's something that you need and you use frequently, it's pretty easy to justify. I guess the only other negative would be there's latency between the messages, and that just depends on the satellite connectivity. It's not long, it's maybe a minute after you send it, they get it, whereas we're used to, you and I text each other, it's instantaneous.
It's instant.
There's some latency. I've never ran into a situation where it was like 5-10 minutes. So, it's as quick as you need it to be to check in and get information in and out.
Yeah.
What about Starlink, man?
Starlink. I like Starlink, but it's got its pros and cons, man. Starlink connects to space. You point it towards the sky. What's it take? Like 2 minutes? We'll boot up to find a satellite.
Yeah, I think that's from the time that it gets power, you're probably ready to go on the internet in a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Yeah, something like that. And you're good to go at that point. Like video chat, text.
Yeah, play video games.
Streaming. Yeah, like you're connected to the world at that point. The cons, though, they're kind of expensive. The plans have kind of gotten to where they're not really, I don't know, like overlander-ish. They're kind of trying to make it their primary internet source for somebody.
Yeah.
You do need a clear view to the sky. It is kind of larger equipment. Like it's going to take up space in a vehicle. Like,
yeah.
It takes time to deploy too. Like in an emergency, you're sitting there going through stuff, and it's not going to be the stuff that you have that fails. It's going to be you setting it up or somebody new setting it up, having to learn it the first time. Like, I don't know that Starlink is your emergency communication, but it's a form of communication to say, I'm at camp and everything's okay, drinking beers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in an overland context, it's really beneficial if it's just always set up. Like if it's hard mounted, when your vehicle's on, it's on, or you can throw it power whenever, so that you're not connecting batteries and running antennas, whatever it may be. They use a good bit of power, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought they just used a bunch of power on startup. Like once they linked to a satellite, they knew where all the other satellites were coming from, and they could just, that one's leaving, we'll hit this one, and it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I think like actual power demand, though, I think the antenna is pretty power sappy, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably takes a little bit to get the space.
Yeah. They did also kind of screw us on their plans. I know you touched on it, but this is recent. That nice, cheap plan that you could use if you're an overlander is no more. Now, if you're moving, you have to buy the tier above it, which I don't know what that is cost-wise, but it's more. So whatever that lowest tier was, that I know a couple people who are using it. I think if you're moving over like 5 miles an hour, it shuts off.
Yeah.
So
that sucks. I like my Spotify.
Yeah. I would like to have one, but like you
Agreed.
said, it is more. It makes more sense if it's your normal day-to-day internet. I don't
It's not
think
a good family plan.
No, it didn't keep the price point to be like an InReach. It would be like if an InReach was $100 a month, you know?
Yeah.
Which it feels like it's creeping up to it at this point. I think when I first got it, it was like $18 or $16 a month, and I swear I'm in the 30s now. So, what are you going to do, I guess?
Hit the button at least once. You're paying for it. You might as well use it. You know?
Yeah. No, I will say, like, if you're more than a weekend warrior, like a Starlink is probably a great buy for you. You know, if you're taking week-long trips, dude, like, I know, connect with nature, stay off electronics, but like, come on. How nice
Starlink
is it?
Is sick.
Day 5, you got your feet up around the campfire, you're shit posting to everybody who's a weekend warrior. You know?
Exactly. Like, I want Starlink. I will have a Starlink at some point. But I think the tone of this podcast is like emergency comms, and they're too many people use Starlink for emergency comms, and I don't think they should be that. It is a form of communication that works. It's good to keep search and rescue at bay, but it's not your emergency comm. You get hurt, it's not your go-to.
Yeah, I think the only way that it fits that bill is if your setup, it's always on. Like, it runs off of house battery when the truck's off, and you know what I mean?
And you got to have other people, like, on your, what is it, a router set up, like you put a password in and stuff. Like,
you know,
like you're just
if you die and I can't get on it, then it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. So, there's got to be planning ahead of time that, hey, this is available. Y'all can use it.
Yep. Now, I threw these on here because I know they exist, but truthfully, I have zero experience with them. I've actually never even seen one. And these are the personal locator beacons. This is common in like extreme endurance sporting. Basically works like the SOS button on an InReach. You hit the button, it pings you out, search and rescue comes and finds you. That's great if you're dying, but it's not going to help you check in. This is one that, if you're Googling and looking for, emergency contact device, I would not go this direction personally.
No.
The only benefit to this one is some of them don't have a subscription fee. So let's say that you have, other forms of communication similar to the Garmin, but you don't want to pay the Garmin fee, but you want something that contacts EMS but there's no service. Maybe, that's a one-time fee versus paying Garmin for the rest of your life. But, for me, I'm not looking these up. Truthfully, for the show, I didn't even look into them because I would never buy one.
Yeah, I think they're more common, like, I want to say naval. That's not the word. Marine, that's the word I'm after. Like, marine setting. Yeah, like, I could see being out in the middle of the Great Lake, one of them, and something happened, hit the button, it probably strobes, and somebody's coming out of the boat.
Yep. Yeah, and I think a simple way to put it for all the communication devices, right? Radios talk to your friends, the people that you're with. Cell phones talk to towers. If there's no towers, they're not talking. Satellite messengers talk to space. Space is always there, right? And if you're going into terrain that is remote and there's no chance for radios contacting somebody, there's no cell phone towers, it's probably a pretty good idea to have at least one device that can talk to space. Because as far as I know, space isn't going anywhere. That's kind of my 2 cents. I truthfully, I just wish Garmin wasn't so. I think that's expensive for as infrequent as most people would use it. I think that's kind of pricey.
I agree. I could see spending $20 a month. $30 is kind of like,
Yeah.
it hurts. You know,
Yeah,
it hurts.
it's like, again, it's going out to eat once, but also like it's $30 on something that, dude, it's a text. How much energy and data am I really using?
Yeah.
Garmin, you know, they actually get you too. So let's say that you do a weather report. You can get a basic weather report or you can get an advanced weather report, right? They're like pretty much the same thing, but the advanced weather report, depending on your plan, you have to pay for that too. It's like 50 cents, but still, you know, they get you.
Right.
Now that weather function is nice. I've used it dozens of times. It works very well. It goes off in NOAA. Now your GMRS radio very likely is going to receive that as well. So, you know, there's some give there as well.
Yeah.
You know, there is some positivity, actually a lot of positivity that we can take away from this. The coolest thing about this whole situation is that everybody who is like about that life mobilized almost immediately. That was posted, and there were dozens of trucks loading up with fuel and gear, zipping into the mountains to find people that they didn't know.
Yep. It's super cool that happened. What was it? 2 hours? 3 hours? Like they were found?
Yeah, it was quick. I think it was before
quick.
Morning.
Yeah. I thought it was that night.
Yeah. I'm almost certain it was before Morning.
Yeah.
So, boy, could you imagine being this guy?
Because you know people are just rolling in all night long that they didn't have service to know that they were found.
Yeah, absolutely. Hell, even allegedly, I have no confirmation on this, but like I said, I saw it twice. Allegedly, a plane went up looking for these guys.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that wasn't cheap, but hey, if you're the guy that has his pilot's license and can take his plane out on a whim,
you need hours.
You also, yeah, and you didn't care. You were having fun. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, it's cool that, like, I think Hurricane Helene, with all the helicopter stuff that happened with that, it's cool that, like, that's become a thing in our area. Like,
yeah.
I think when that whole deal happened there, they got overwhelmed with helicopters, and I think the government was kind of like pushing them away because they were afraid everybody was going to cause more problems. But like, it's cool to see that like that didn't get put away. Like, there's still people that want to go up in the air and like help us. So that's cool.
Yeah, I think kudos to the community, even for the folks that were like really pissed off. At least you engaged and got the word out more.
Yes. You helped the algorithm. Thank you.
Yeah. Try to be nice though, because one day your ass might be lost. And the question that I asked in the post was whether the wives overreacted or not, which in my opinion, it was escalated a little more than it needed to be. However, for those of you who are so vehemently criticizing it, would your wife have had the know-how to do what they did to mobilize basically a freestanding army to go into the woods in 2 hours? You know? You got to give credit where credit's due.
She did a damn good job.
Damn good job.
She did. She found her man.
Yeah, she found her man. But the whole situation could have been avoided if we just had a communication plan in place and it was followed. And if at any time you feel like there might be deviation from your plan, get word out as soon as possible. It's the best thing that you can do to prevent a situation like this one. So I want to ask everybody who's listening, what do you think? What is the time that you should wait before you worry? Does it vary person to person, situation to situation? Or do you think, look, if I don't hear from somebody for a whole day, I'm calling the cavalry? So I want to hear from you. Also, tired of this thing on my desk. All right. Last week, apparently, we bored you guys to death. No one wanted to listen to us. That's cool. But I want to get rid of this. It's not an Elm. It works the exact same way. This is a V-Peak, but it's a Bluetooth OBD2 reader. Literally, the first person that I don't know personally that comments, I want this, I will put it in its nice little case with its nice little instructions, and I will send it to you, and it will be yours. So comment that, and I will send it to you.
You want one too? Like this thing saved my ass a couple different times. Vehicle goes in lift mode. You want that?
Actually, I have 3 of these. So you know what? I don't know. Maybe I'll send 3 out. I'll send at least 1 out. So let me know if you want them. I'll get them sent out to you for free. And
if you miss out on this, you're listening to this months later, whatever. You can buy 2 of them on Amazon for like $7. They should be in your vehicle. If it's 96 and newer, put it in your vehicle.
Yeah. These guys were actually a little bit more expensive. So for a while there, I was working on a project for like a Bluetooth mesh network. These have like a really high data transfer rate and a long Bluetooth range. Long story, but I wanted to make an app that was going to utilize a mesh network to send telematic data, right? So I got a bunch of these for testing. A bunch of them I never used. So I want it to be yours so that you know what's going on. Or am I infecting your vehicle with government spyware? You'll never know.
This is really good for the 24 hours, guys, because you can put your fuel injector size into it and it gives you actual MPGs and gallons per hour used. And like you can really figure out your fuel mileage. So like, you want one of these.
Yes, absolutely. There's hundreds of apps, Torque Pro, Torque, there's free ones, there's Dash Monitor, you name it, it's there. They're customizable. Just please take that off of my hand. Take them off of my hands. I want to hook you up. But until next time, guys, make yourselves a communication plan and keep the muddy side down and the shiny side up. Thank you.
See ya.